Good evening and welcome to FTB Sport. And tonight it's all about Norwich City. So if you're liking what you're hearing, please share us on Twitter, please share us on Facebook, join the Facebook group. And actually, I was also having a good look at Instagram tonight, where we have loads of pictures, loads of things going on Instagram. So check out the action there. The video will be on YouTube, so play it as many times as you want, share it with your mates, enjoy. And I think, in terms of, we spend too much time talking about that top six club. So I had a lovely evening chatting to the Fulham fans last night and joined by my really good pal Ben tonight to talk about Norwich City. And next week, we have some passionate Hull City supporters on the line. So it's the full dream because Hull moved up to the Championship. Fulham moved down from the Premier League to the Championship. And good old Norwich, who stuck with their manager and played beautiful football even when they went down, are back in the big time. So let's see what we can do. In terms of, I worked with Ben and we had a great, fun time. And Ben took me to a cup game at Chelsea. And boy, we had a great evening. Narrow defeat. The Norwich fans singing like ultimate Canaries. I mean, they were bonkers all evening. And so that's why I called it Angus in goal, Ian, tonight. That was their key song. And Angus actually played for Man City and then he went to Southampton. And now he's back at his ancestral home of Norwich City. So, Ben, tell us about your long relationship with Norwich City. How did you become a Canary and stay a Canary?
It's an accident of birth, really, as quite a few Norwich fans tend to be. I've got the programme for my first ever match on Boxing Day 1975, QPR away. And actually, like all young boys, you go to your first live match and it always is a big moment in your life. And although Norwich got beat 2-0, never looked back. And I've been a lifelong fan ever since. And I've lived all over the UK and even in Amsterdam for 7 years and still been a full-on Canary. And, I think teams like Norwich, it's an interesting journey. We've won a couple of cups, we've won a couple of trophies, but we've had some horror shows and
been in Europe as well.
Being in Europe and the Bayern Munich was an epic moment. That first season of the Premier League, we were top of the Premier League on the 20th of April in that year, to be pipped by Man United right at the end. And so we've had some great moments, but I was there for our very first game in League One, 52 years since we've been in that tier of English football, home to Colchester, 5-0 down at half time, lost the game 7-1. And I can still remember wandering out of the Carrow Road after that, thinking, with my eldest son, thinking this is going to take some beating. But sitting here now, season 4 of Daniel Farke. Daniel Farke recently signed up for a new contract, and we're having a lovely old time up here. We really are. Being a yo-yo club is, I think, one of the best. If you're not going to be winning trophies at the top, you want drama. And in the last, 5 or 6 seasons, we've had one boring mid-table season. Other than that, we've been up and down. And I think, what we love as Norwich fans is the excitement. And I think with young players and a young squad, I don't think we've ever had it as good as we've had it these last few seasons. And we're going into a Premier League season in better shape than we were last time. So I'm sitting here feeling good, Ian, I have to say. I'm feeling good. It won't last because anyone who's seen the fixture list, we've got quite a tasty first 6 games.
We'll come on to that. One of the things that let's start back in June. Norwich really interesting. Let Buendia go to Villa very, very, very early on in the transfer window, and that seems like a wise move, so that they can intelligently then spend that money. And actually, they bought they've signed 9 players in that time. 2 of them were permanents, like Ben Gibson. I mean, gosh, he was a well-rated centre back with Grant Handley, fresh from the Euros. That's not a bad pairing in central defence. So those 9 players, any particular standouts for you? Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's if you think about when we sold Emmy to Villa and Ollie Skip went back to Tottenham, we just got promoted, we basically have lost our two best players of last season. And as Norwich fans, we always knew that we knew Ollie Skip was going back to Tottenham, but Emmy, we always feared we'd lose him, but to lose him so quick was a bit of a worry. But if you think about the players that they've brought in, and they've spent almost exactly the 33 million that we got for Emmy on these players, from a squad point of view, Emmy was one of the best players I ever saw play for Norwich. So it would have been lovely to see him in the Prem, Ian, to be honest with you. I think he's going to do a great job next season at Aston Villa. And we were worried, but really, what we did with the money is we really strengthened.
When you consider 50 million for White going to Arsenal, and I think it was 35 for Buendia, Villa might have got themselves a bloody good player for the money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Don't disagree. And James Maddison, one of our ex-players, Ian, they're talking about 60, 70 million for him. And we sold him for 25 million not that long ago. So, you could see Emmy going for 60, 70 million next time. So, but what they've done is they've learned some really valuable lessons from last time, Ian. And what they did last time was we rewarded all our young players, the Max Aarons, the Todd Cantwells, Emmy as he was, with new contracts. And we started that campaign at Anfield with basically Tim Krul as our only player in the starting 11 who'd ever played in the Premier League. And we were 4-0 down at half time. I was stood in the away end that night, and we were having a great time but we sat there and went, this doesn't look great. They pulled it back, and we won the second half 1-0, and Liverpool took their foot off the gas. But what they've learned this time is they brought in people like Ben Gibson, who's a proven, played at the highest level, he's in an England squad. They bought Giannoulis, a Greek international, played Champions League football. But I think to answer your question, what's the most exciting? And you can't ignore the Billy Gilmour signing.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've never seen Graham Souness, just go on about a player. I mean, Souness was going on about Billy Gilmour as though he was the new Billy Bremner.
Yeah, exactly. And that you can't, that game against England, I was sitting there as an England fan, sort of, not really enjoying that 90 minutes. I don't think any of us did, but he did a great job for such a young player, and he's exactly the sort of player that does well at Norwich. We got a great setup for giving these young players confidence. Ollie Skip last season was 19-year-old when he joined us from Tottenham, and he had a full season for us and was arguably one of our best players. And we're Norwich fans, we're really excited about Billy Gilmour and what he can bring into the middle of our midfield, which we're going to lose having lost Emmy. And that's got to be the most exciting signing. But we signed a couple of players that, let's be honest, we'd never heard of.
Rashika, Wender Bremen.
He's a classic Norwich signing. He's 2 seasons ago. He had an amazing season for Werder Bremen in the Bundesliga, and he was being quoted at the 30 million euro mark as a signing potential. And then he had a disappointing season last season, a bit of injury, and Werder Bremen were at the bottom of the division. And we've managed to snap him up for a third of what he was worth 2 seasons ago. Pre-season, he's looked sharp, and we're quite excited about what he could bring for an attacking option. So that's really exciting. But this guy from Nice, guy called Lys Malou, he's in 25-year-old, 1 year left on his contract, 3.5 million. And he's looking already like he came on the last 10 minutes of the first friendly and scored with virtually his first shot. And he's looking like one of those players like Emmy was when we signed and no one had heard of him, who could be quite good. So we're quite excited about him as well. But really, we're pleased with what's going on, but I think we're still a bit short in. I think there's a couple more signings we need before.
Yeah, I was going to say, any nods and winks of players, in the pipeline, rumours amongst the Canaries.
The latest rumour is there's a Greek international, 19-year-old young player, got all the all the hallmarks of a classic Norwich player, young, inexperienced, but bags of potential. And he's being talked about as a possible signing. Even they're talking about the £8-9 million mark, which for someone who's barely made a name for himself, the potential there is quite exciting. And I think Norwich fans, we recognise that we're not going to sign big name players, but what we like is these young players that have come with loads of hunger, loads of energy, and that really want to play for the shirt. And that's what we're excited about, is these signings which have got the potential to do really, really well. And he's the latest name. I'm trying to remember his name. It's one of those unpronounceable surnames, but
Don't worry.
he's got loads of potential, lots of big teams watching him, and I think we're hopeful that that he'll sign for us, because he could be exciting, and I think that's the sort of player we're looking at.
We've got comments here from Johan United. That's a good name. Johan United is a United fan. I reckon Rashika will be amazing.
I mean, he's got everything. He's got goals, he's got assists, and he's played the Bundesliga, effectively. And his numbers in terms of assists and goals are really impressive for someone who's only played 100 games in the Bundesliga. And I think for teams like Norwich, it's a great signing, because actually he's got high-level experience, which we didn't have at all in our last effort. And we're really excited about him. And he's a good age. He's 23. No, he's 25, just 25. So we're really excited. International footballer. Really exciting signing.
There's 4 or 5 weeks left. Where do you think Norwich need more resources? And do you think you can keep hold of Todd Cantwell with a plan B there if he is enticed away? I mean, he's talked about flipping everywhere over Europe. Yeah. And
also Max Aarons is also, he's also a danger. I think it's interesting, as the fans, we started the window wanting more defensive players, and we felt comfortable going forward. But we're now feeling that Teemu Pukki is a little bit isolated as our one and only striker. If you remember his last campaign, he got to halfway through the season with 11 goals. He was Premier League Player of the Month for August with that hat-trick against Newcastle. He got an injury against Leicester away at the beginning of the second half of the season, and he scored 1 penalty as we whimpered out of the league. And Teemu needs to be fit, and when he's fit and firing, he's a Premier League striker. But it's very, very risky. And we've got Adam Eder, who's a young up-and-coming, plays for the Republic of Ireland, but he's not proven at the Premier League. And Jordan Hugel also, who we got from West Ham, but he didn't prove himself in the Premier League. And I think the fans now, we're looking for a striker, and we've got one more loan we can do from a Premier League team. And we're quite excited about, could we get in a young striker on loan, because we need more. I think we need more firepower.
Like a Peter from Arsenal, who's not going to make the first team. As a player like that, who may have to go out on loan again. He did well at Leeds, but that was in the Championship. But someone like that,
and also we've got good relationships. Pep and Daniel Farke had a really good relationship, and we're kind of hoping that maybe we can tap into some talent at City, because you've got some great young players that are itching for some game time.
If Liam Delap isn't in the first team and the squad, which I would be disappointed, and I want to see him come through, Norwich would be bloody perfect for him. And I think after the gun relationship, City and Norwich have quite a good relationship. And you're right. A little bit like Palace, other clubs appreciate that they'll get a game, they'll get good development. And with Farke having a manager in the, of continuity, where, that he's unlikely to get fired during the season, etc. If I've got a young player, Norwich would be a good place to send him. Another quick question for Johan over here. What are your thoughts about Giannoulis? Has he been any good in the Championship?
So he joined us in January, a great signing, and initially he's a very attacking left back, really attacking, and we were a little bit concerned about his defensive capabilities. And if I'm honest, I'm not sure they got tested fully because we were so strong going forward that I was concerned that defensively, and I think that's still for me in the Prem a question mark. He did a great job in the Championship, got a couple of assists and really settled into the team, and really has joined in with the group really strongly. And I think he had a nice introduction to English football. His defensive side of his game wasn't really tested though for me, and that's will remain a challenge I think in the Prem when he's up against much better players. Really fast. Got an excellent left foot, so plenty of potential.
So if you're going down the bookies, can you keep hold of Cantwell and Aarons?
I think Cantwell we can. We've got a tricky contractual situation. He's got 2 years. He's got 1 year plus an extra year left on his deal. And for Norwich, it's important that we can get him to sign a contract, because I think if we leave him for another season, then there's a risk there. I think the bigger risk is Aarons, right back, Max Aarons. I think Arsenal, we're looking at the Hector Bellerin situation very, very closely, Ian, because what often happens, as you know, with transfers is one big move and then that position becomes available and then there's a move round. And our worry is that if Bellerin goes, which seems likely, lots of chat about him moving, then they'll be in the market for a right back, and they'll need 35 million to get him, but he would be a great signing for Arsenal. I mean, he really would, with Saka as well on the flanks.
Well, any Arsenal fans watching this, share it. We're FTB Sport. Share it. Talk to your mates about it. Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. You heard it here first from Ben. If Maxi Aarons goes to Arsenal, he'll be bloody good, but it'll cost you 35 mil. But what the heck? You just spent 50 on Ben White, so it seems like a relative deal. Coming on to the start of the season. Firstly, thoughts on pre-season. COVID is going to play a bloody big part. The first pre-season game was meant to be against Coventry, got cancelled because I think a couple of the players in the Norwich squad had tested positive for COVID. And the next game, I think, is on Saturday at Sheffield United, which is not a bad warm-up game. Actually, I think that's quite a good warm-up game. But it then kicks into the mother of all starts to the season. Home to Liverpool, which revived 45 time there. Away at Man City. Home to Leicester. And we talked about off air that Leicester have got a very well-rested squad. Whether you're talking about Maddison or Vardy or Ndidi, they haven't been anywhere, I don't think, this summer. They've had really good rest in a lot of their key players. It's only until you get to the fourth game, really, away at Arsenal, that you've got a bit of a chance. And actually, in the fifth game, home to Watford in the fifth game, I think those first four will be rocky. But home to Watford, what's your thoughts there? Can you get anything out of the 4 games?
I mean, in many ways, we are looking at all 38 games in, and I think we'll go in within a way you can look at it as a bit of a free hit. We've got 2 of the toughest games that any club is going to have: City away, Liverpool at home. Any club in the Premier League, that no one's going to be expecting points from those 2. So I don't think we need to be too concerned about them. Yeah, I mean, we did all right last night.
City. Yeah.
So
just remind everyone what happened last time against Man City.
Well, I mean, we're still talking about it up in these parts, Ian. That home game against City where we won 3-2 with half our team injured. We had midfielders in defence, but somehow they put De Bruyne on the bench and didn't bring him off until sort of 20 minutes from the end, by which time we were 3-1 up and defending for our lives. And it was one of those nights that
Guardiola strategic masterclass.
Yeah, it was a strange one. But those games worry me. And in fact, a recent update, the Sheffield United game has also now been lost to COVID.
Really?
And that was announced this afternoon. And what's concerning for me is our centre-back duo, Grant Hanley and Ben Gibson, have both been injured and are yet to play any football since Hanley went off in the Euros and Gibson missed the last 10 games of last season. We've only got now Gillingham at home on Tuesday night and Newcastle away next Saturday, and then we're into the Liverpool game. So our two centre-backs could be seriously underprepared. And Teemu Pukki only played half a match. He did score, but he only played half a match behind closed doors last week, having come back from the Euros, and Tim Krul similarly. So if you look at four of our most experienced, crucial players could be slightly undercooked, and you don't want to be going into Liverpool with your two centre-backs, your goalie and your striker slightly undercooked.
Yeah, just before I came on, I was tuning into Liverpool Hertha Berlin, and Liverpool had come back from 2-0 down to 2-2, and Van Dijk and Gomez were on the bench, chomping at the bit, ready to come on. That they have Liverpool have got luxuries in pretty much every part of the field, and Mane was playing, Salah was playing, Keita was playing, so I think you got a bit of
a worry
fight on your hands.
It's a worry, but I think I think they'll approach it though in a positive frame of mind here, and they've got nothing to lose. And I think you look at Leicester at home and Arsenal away, and I wouldn't rule out some points there. Leicester at home, we beat them last time, gives us a chance, and Arsenal away with lots of new players, potentially a new defence. Maybe there's an opportunity there. And then Watford at home will already be a crucial game. Yeah. So, if my dream would be 5 points after Watford, if we can get 5 points in the first 5 games, and get Liverpool at home and City away off the fixture list, then that I think we'd be happy as Norwich fans. I think you've got to be really 5 points from those games. What do you reckon?
Yeah,
newly promoted side.
Well, I was actually thinking, I bet Patrick Vieira's looking at those fixtures at Crystal Palace and thinking about what happened to Frank de Boer last time the Palace had a new manager, and thinking, well, perhaps after the first 5 games we won't be bottom. So I think a few of those guys who got promoted, who might want to get some points on the board early, will look at Norwich and think, But all I can say is, in the first few games of the season, it's a funny old season. There are teams you don't expect to lose. I'm looking at City away, in that second game. The City have got a huge amount of players who still, almost still to come back, who are hardly, who've hardly played, particularly England lads, etc. So they won't exactly be sharp as hell for that. I mean, hopefully they'll have too much, and hopefully Guardiola's learned from the last time. But all I can say is it's a funny old game. But the crowds are all back. Can you imagine? The Arsenal crowd will be waiting for you there. The City crowd will be waiting for you. One consolation is I can't imagine going to Anfield the first time they've had a crowd since actually they won the league. That they will be, they'll be so on it. The Anfield crowd. Thank God, at least it's at Norwich.
And actually, to be fair, it might only be 28,000, but we like all football fans, we're desperate to get back, and the atmosphere, all those home matches will be quite something, won't it? And I think that's going to give our players a lift. And I think first game of the season with a rusty Van Dijk and a Gomez, hopefully, we can give a good account of ourselves in that game. And as you say, last season Southampton were top, weren't they, after a handful of games? And
true,
there's going to be someone like that's going to do an all right job.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. No one would have picked that out, and obviously Leicester had a flyer all season. No, you're right. Southampton, I'd forgotten about them last season. No, all I can say is I want Norwich to do well, because number one, they continue to play great football even though they were relegated, and I take my hat off. It's far better watching that, and like Fulham under Scott Parker. I was really disappointed Fulham and Scott Parker couldn't stay together to have a go at the Championship and come back up. I think what Norwich did, sticking with Daniel Farke, winning the Championship, was fantastic. So if ever a club deserves to stay up out of being loyal to their manager and their fans, it's got to be Norwich. So good luck, sir. Any last thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, and
you're freezing a bit, Ben.
you know, I'm sat here chatting, as I said, a couple of months in, and we've given a good account of ourselves. Yeah, I'm hoping we give a good account of ourselves in the first few games, and I think that will set us up. And I'm hopeful, Ian. I really am.
Lovely, Ben. Everyone who's watching this and watches this live and watches this afterwards, again, if you want to share us with your mates, share us on Twitter, share us on Facebook, share us across all the platforms. I think it's important. You know, it's not a top 6 side, and hopefully Ben and maybe Dan will come back after 4 or 5 games and let us know how you're getting on. In fact, we should, before that Watford game, between the Arsenal and the Watford game, after those first 4. You and Dan have got to come back on and give us a summary of how that was. Thank you, sir. Have a lovely evening.
Absolutely.
I'm going to
okay.
stop.
Thank
Stay
you.
on for a sec. Adios.